Hello once again, and welcome to another edition of the SaskAgToday.com Roundtable. I'm joined by Ryan Young, the 620 CKRM Regina Agri-News Director, as well as Kevin Hursh, the Chief Agricultural Editor for SaskAgToday.com. I'm Doug Falconer, Agriculture Director at GX94 in Yorkton. And the first thing we wanted to talk about this week, of course, was harvest, but also the prices as well. And Ryan, it looks like canola closed down on the week.
Yeah, overall, in terms of the cash prices from the Moose Jaw Bungie terminal that I keep track of on a daily basis, for this afternoon, it closed at around 543.42 a metric ton. That's down $2.70 on the afternoon. So in bushels per acre, that's roughly $12.30 a bushel. So I've kind of noticed this trend over the last few weeks, and I've noticed it beforehand, even going back to the Viterra days that they usually like to, jack up the price at the beginning of the week. And I always seem to think that, oh, hey, this might be the start of a rally. And then over the course of the following few days, it goes down incrementally. So typically they follow the futures price. So I could imagine the canola futures have been taking a beating, Doug.
All right. And of course, Kevin, there was one day that was a no trading day on Tuesday, but you must be a little bit concerned to see the canola prices continue to drop.
Yeah, it's canola and a lot of commodities are dropping or certainly very soft in price level. In fact, it's hard to point at anything that's really all that good of a standout price on anything. The one commodity that has increased in recent weeks is large green lentils. They were down to about 23 cents a pound with harvest pressure and have increased to around 27 if you hold off deliveries for a little while into a few months from now, 28 cents a pound. So it's improved somewhat, but there's a lot of harvest pressure, a lot of international pressure, and the Chinese not buying soybeans from the U.S. has got the soybean market in a tizzy, not helped from that point of view, and that's also coming back to bear on canola prices, along with the whole Chinese tariff situation.
So does it sound like Donald Trump is planning on helping out soybean farmers in the U.S., from what you've heard?
That's the recent tweet or his social media post. I guess it's maybe on Truth Social or something. Is that he's not going to let American farmers down, and he's got all this money collected from tariffs now, so he can help producers out. Some estimates or some suggestions or speculation that there could be another $10 billion coming to American farmers in the weeks to come. Of course, right now the whole U.S. government is shut down with a dispute over funding between the Democrats and Republicans, so not much happening in that regard. But it looks like the U.S. government and U.S. administration is getting set to make another big aid payment to farmers.
Something else that came out this week, and it was something that Ryan was on top of, and that was the fact that Ralph Goodale has announced he's going to be retiring as the High Commissioner for Canada to the UK. And Ryan, you had a chance to speak with him. And when it comes to agriculture, I guess Ralph Goodale has been a pretty big supporter of Saskatchewan agriculture over the years.
Yeah, that's right. And he was even a federal agriculture minister at one point, and he's held numerous cabinet positions over the years during his time as a Liberal MP for the Regina Wascana riding in southern Regina here. And yeah, this was kind of the current role that he's been in for the last, let's say, 4.5 years. And he figured it was the right time to kind of move on and let somebody else take a opportunity and take a run with this role. He told me he reached out to the Prime Minister's office some time ago. I don't know what some time ago is, whether it was a few weeks or a few months ago, that he was planning on retiring and giving up the role. But that's what he told me. He figured it was about time that he returned home to Saskatchewan and spend a little more time here. So we've been hearing from different outlets that Bill Blair, the former defense minister, might take over from Goodale, but that hasn't been formally announced yet or confirmed by the Prime Minister's office. So we'll have to keep that in the back of our minds and see where that goes by December, which is when Goodale wants to retire and come back home here. So we'll kind of see where that goes. And kind of another thing to add too with my chat with Ralph was he told me that Canada has everything the world needs and the potential to become an energy superpower to the world. Kind of based on the research that we've been doing here in Canada with nuclear energy or small modular reactors to the conventional sources of power with oil and gas and coal, among other things. So it's going to be interesting to see if that claim is backed up by any sort of trade deals in the future. The Prime Minister was in London this previous week here, just kind of strengthening ties and trying to pitch Canada as a place to invest and do business with. So we'll see where that goes. And I know one of the other ministers in the cabinet are going to be in London talking about critical minerals as well. So again, it's kind of I guess an exciting thing to see where that goes in the future. It's definitely not going to be an overnight thing where suddenly, there's a trade deal or a project that gets approved.
Kevin, your musings on Goodale's discussions about, I guess, Canada's role as a energy superpower and also about his retirement.
Well, Ralph has always been a visionary and certainly not a person of few words. I can remember covering him. I've probably known Ralph for 40 years, and he was always a tough person to get a voice clip out of that didn't go on and on because it never seems to come to a conclusion. But a smart man, ethical man, whether or not you always agreed with liberal politics or not, Ralph was certainly a staunch supporter of agriculture. If you look at his legacy, Farm Credit Canada would not be in Regina with its head office. It would have not been for Goodale. And it's actually hard to imagine him retiring, but you guys did remind me that he's 75 years old, so I guess he's certainly due to take it easy and not take on other roles. But I'd be surprised if he didn't surface somewhere else, and it just would be in his nature to move on to something else that again would put him in the news.
We also had both the Manitoba and Saskatchewan crop reports come out midweek. The Manitoba crop report suggests 72% of the crop is in the bin in that province. And here in Saskatchewan, we're up to 84% complete. Your thoughts on those numbers, Kevin?
Well, we're the tail end. It's in the final push, but the weather might not be entirely conducive, especially on the east side of Saskatchewan and into Manitoba, to actually getting things completed in the next week or so. It might take longer than that. The days are getting shorter. It can be damp in the mornings. If you get a little bit of rain and precipitation, it's going to delay things further. So we're not all that far behind long-term averages, but this final amount of harvest could have a long tail and drag on for some weeks yet, depending upon what the weather does.
Ryan, how's the farming, the harvest going in that Regina area?
Things are going well, but I will admit I haven't really gotten around outside of the city this week to kind of see where farming progress is, other than around the Grand Coulee area, which is the same site as it was the previous week. The fields around there are done. There's nothing there, just stubble and Canada geese. So that's kind of the picture there. But I have heard back home around the Margot area that at least some farmers are done harvest for another year, so that's good. Haven't heard anything new other than things were kind of looking average or above average. So that's kind of the update there.
Yeah, here in the east central region of Saskatchewan, I believe the crop report suggested 80% of the crop was in the bin in this area. And that's actually coming up in last place in the province. So we're a little bit behind. We have had some moisture. In fact, as we're speaking here Friday afternoon, we've been having some rain on and off as well. Another big thing that came out this week was Farm Credit Canada's Farmland Values Report for the first half of 2025. You had a chance to delve into those numbers, Kevin?
Yeah, I've certainly looked through that report. Saskatchewan is sort of the middle of the pack, 6% increase in farmland values in Saskatchewan for the 6 months of the year, the first half of 2025, basically on par with the 13% increase for the entire year, the previous numbers. But we don't get the same detail in the mid report. We don't get the breakdown of changes by region in the province. And also, the first half of this year looked far different than the second half of this year is going to look as far as grain prices. Now, some areas have had really good crops, and that's going to help compensate for the drop in grain prices. But other areas with only average crops is going to be tight economics to make any money. So I tend to believe that we're going to see areas that have had good crops over the past number of years maybe continue to see their price of farmland continue to escalate. I think some of the drier areas like the Southwest, where we saw a slowdown in 2024 as far as their increase in land prices, I think that could continue to slow down, maybe even stall. And I think also in a tighter environment like this, there's probably going to be good values for great quality farmland, but poorer quality farmland, I think, will be the first to suffer some setbacks. So interesting to see the midterm analysis, but it will also be very interesting when we finally see an analysis and a deeper analysis of what prices did for the entire year.
And Kevin, of course, you reside in Saskatoon and you made a trip to Yorkton this week for the Yorkton Brick Mill Heritage Society dinner. Did you see any combines, any harvest activity on your travels?
We sure did, both coming and going, most of it in canola. Oftentimes 2 and 3 combines ganging up in a field. A little bit of cereals that you could see were still out, still standing, but the majority of what was out was canola and some really strong looking canola crops in that region. Doug, the producers in your region must be pretty pleased with what they're pulling off, and that was certainly evident in conversations with producers at the Yorkton brick flour mill dinner that we both attended.
Excellent. Well, that's going to do it for this week. And on behalf of Chief Agricultural Editor for SaskAgToday.com, Kevin Hursh, and Ryan Young, the Agri-News Director for 620 CKRM Regina, I'm Doug Falconer at GX94 Yorkton, saying so long until next time.